start this State of the City off on a personal note and express my gratitude for the city employees, their service to the community, and really a special thanks this year to the service department. As you might imagine, when that first snow hits, Jack knows this, the appeal is that overtime, you know, maybe a couple days of overtime, feeling pretty good. But when that 4th or 5th consecutive day of tackling snow and icy roads comes along, it gets a little tiring. But the service department worked long, difficult hours to reopen our roads and get collection services going again. Drop off, it's that cold. Chillicothe's road network is pretty extensive. We've got about 100 miles of roadways, and those are ranging from 4-lane roads you just heard about to narrow alleys. And plowing this large area requires significant planning, time, and labor. The service department kept after it day in and day out. And just the city as a whole, from directors to office managers, trash collectors to maintenance workers, road crews, truck drivers, the city's response, the staff's response to the city's needs is really what makes our community so great. Much of their work goes unnoticed because they do their job so well. The state of the city is strong because we have great employees, and I want to thank them all for the work that they do. In recent years, the community has had a bunch of wins, and I've enjoyed talking about them during the State of the City. Many were the result of lots of planning, collaboration, and vision. And so I came into this year's State of the City thinking the same thing. I was going to talk about a year's worth of wins and recap and move on. But instead, Tom, you queued me up for this pretty well, I'm going to talk about pain. And I'm going to talk about growing pains in particular. Because what I've learned, or what I'm learning, is that adopting a comprehensive plan or earning the World Heritage designation is not the end of the process. It's not winning the Super Bowl. In fact, it's more like making the team. So today I'll talk about growth, but you can't talk about growth without talking about growing pains that come with it. There's the joke in Ohio, which seems pretty true in Chillicothe recently, that we've got 4 seasons, right? There's almost winter, winter, still winter, and construction season. And over the last 10 years in Chillicothe, our paving levy has brought plenty of projects that have seen us through those seasons. And with them has come some pain. Through careful planning, the engineering department has used our levy funds and leveraged various funding sources to map out paving of roadway projects that we need to do each year and into the future. Of those 100 miles of roadway I mentioned earlier, we've paved and repaired about 2/3 of those roads, or 66 miles, over the past 10 years. And those are just the roads we've contracted ourselves. Last year, ODOT did a paving project through Chillicothe, Route 50, Eastern Avenue all the way out to Veterans Parkway. That project involved resurfacing, full-depth repairs, new curb ramps, and striking along Route 50. Chillicothe's match for that project was over $500,000. That paving was in addition to the $1 million of paving we did through our own contracts, none of which would have been possible without the plan hatched in 2015 and passed by the voters to invest in the city's roadway infrastructure. Of course, navigating closed roads, cones, and detours is a pain, and even the process of figuring out which roads to pave can be painful. I never thought I'd know so much about street ratings, or thermoplastic paint, or full-depth repairs, but I can tell you this. When I start to talk about rejuvenation spray or crack sealing techniques at a party, I am the life of that party. So thank you to those in this room and all the residents and visitors for your patience during that season that comes after still winter. Whether it's paving or gas line replacement, your understanding and cooperation is greatly appreciated. And while we've made progress on those roads, they are a never-ending project. This year's City Council will be voting on a resolution to put the levy back on the ballot this fall. And I fully support it because maintaining and improving our streets and alleys requires reliable funding and careful long-term planning. This levy has made a real difference across the city, and I look forward to continuing that process. Speaking of that construction project, and the project that Tom just told us about, That's going to take us through a couple cycles of almost winter, winter, still winter, and construction. And trust me, there are going to be growing pains. But when that project is done, it will transform one of our city's busiest corridors. I just want to echo what Tom said. That project is going to add lanes of traffic for less congestion and more safety. A new city street for better access and traffic flow. Sidewalks and a multi-use path for walkability and bike path access. And even that roundabout, which Matt Bruning told me was added to the project just so we could have stuff to talk about. Too soon. Projects like this don't happen often and they don't happen overnight. I actually remember being in conversations way back in 2019 about the possibility of this project. It's the result of at least 6 years of planning, and I cannot thank ODOT enough and the folks at District 9 for the persistent work and vision for this project. Of course, for me, the new sidewalks are the really exciting part, and I'm telling you at home, the paving, the love for sidewalks, there's never a dull moment in my house. We know there are going to be growing pains, but I will say this. When I drove down Main Street this morning on my way here, all those lane closures and detours from last summer didn't cross my mind at all. Okay, so they definitely crossed my mind, but I doubt they crossed your mind at all. And that's the point. Because there's going to be pain, and we'll get through it, and we'll have a great result. Much like the planning for the Bridge Street project, the city's comp plan was a project a couple years in development, and it's already spawned multiple other plans and projects. That comprehensive plan, Choose Chillicothe, identified a lot of priorities throughout the community, but during the process, the one that kept coming up over and over again was the Octangie Park and how it was incomplete. And the community wanted to see it in its full potential. Of course, this isn't a new idea. The 1993 Master Park Plan was created, and the Choose Chillicothe Plan calls on us to take those concepts, update them, and deliver on the promise of the Octangie Park. Sometimes in life, timing is everything. In the fall of 2022, Governor DeWine announced the Appalachian Community Grant Program, $500 million for Appalachia and transformative projects. 6 months after that project, our comp plan was adopted. Actually, the 2-year anniversary was yesterday of that adoption. Together, the city and the county, as Jack talked about, worked through, partnered to write and submit a joint application that included many regional partners. It highlighted Southern Ohio, our history, our heritage, our culture, and it emphasized the opportunity around World Heritage travel. And it prioritized the transformational Octangie Park project. On May 1st last year, the governor came to Chillicothe and announced that the city of Chillicothe was awarded $35 million for park improvements. Projects include the construction of a destination amphitheater, the complete restoration of the armory, and the grant also includes funding to permanently locate the farmers market in the park, and develop a visitor center which honors Ross County's designation as a UNESCO World Heritage Site. We later learned that because we had a comprehensive plan for our community, that was a key to our successful application. I'm not gonna lie, it felt pretty good standing in the sun, seeing Governor DeWine get on the trolley and look around, seeing Director Mahalik with the Chillicothe Paints hat. It was a good feeling that day. But in the back of my mind, I knew there's a lot of work to come, and there would be growing pains. We've been awarded a lot of grants over the past 10 years, but this one has definitely come with the most growing pains, and there's new ones every day, largely because we're in uncharted territory. Don't get me wrong, having close to $40 million to invest in your community is a good problem to have. But because of the ever-changing landscape, communication around this project has been a challenge. The deadline for construction is the fall, or almost winter, of 2026, and we have a lot of work to do and decisions to be made before construction can even get underway. We have planned and planned and planned, but this time the stakes feel very high. Like the other projects I've mentioned, with this project will come change and growing pains, and both of those things are hard. But we've weathered change before, and we will weather change with this project to see through the vision that so many people have worked hard on bringing to reality. We can do what's been done before, we can come together as a community, and we can accomplish a lot together. I'm confident that there are solutions out there to make sure we achieve in this project what we can, while minimizing discomforts to businesses and residents. Just like making 2nd Street two-way, last year's improvements to Main Street, or the upcoming Bridge Street project, the growing pains are temporary, but they move us towards our goals. In closing, I want to emphasize how much I'm seeing the planning and pain cycle replay itself in Chillicothe lately. These projects are in various stages of planning and pain, and they're throughout the city all the time. But they come together to make up the life cycle of a city and to make it better. So here are just a few more quick examples. One major recommendation out of our comp plan was a new and modernized zoning code. We're just a couple months away from that being recommended to Chillicothe, to the City Council and the Planning Commission. And guess what? Once it's adopted, there will be pain, and there will be growing pains, but in the long run, it will be easier to live, build, and work in Chillicothe. And another, after appearing in the comp plan and being the topic of discussion for years, the City, County, and Convention and Visitors Bureau came together a couple years ago to fund a county-wide wayfinding project. This past couple years has probably felt like an exercise in pain management for Melody Young. But why? Wayfinding should just be so easy, right? But guess what? It's not. Melody got through that growing pain, and now there are beautiful wayfinding signs across the county. Those are just the signs. We haven't even started to see the people pour in yet, and what challenges that will bring, but it'll be worth it. And here's just another little one. After years of talk and coordination with the Army Corps of Engineers, we finally got a concrete bike ramp up onto the bike path on Riverside. There's a new parking lot, and today you can go and take your library card and check out a bike and ride up that lane. And there was pain along the way, but it's done now and you can enjoy it. We're working on home repair and affordable housing projects and have a federal grant for a transitional housing project. Pain is an understatement when you're talking about working with the federal government, but we know the end result is going to be worth it and positive for the community. I could go on and on with the roller coaster of planning, pain, and implementation, but what I'm realizing is that these are the signs of a successful city. We could rest on our laurels, be complacent, and wait for things to come our way. Or we can seek out the challenges, plan for the future, and tackle things head on. Chillicothe is at this pivotal moment. We're leveraging wins to capitalize on future opportunities. Resilience, innovation, and strong sense of community have been the driving forces of this progress. Growing pains aren't a sign of failure, and they're not a reason to stop. They're a natural step towards success. It can be hard for me to see in the moment, but when I pause, I know that when I look back on this moment, I will appreciate this season of growing pains because it means we planned, we implemented, and the season of success was right around the corner.